What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Stardust here. Welcome back to another Marvel's Avengers video. Today is going to be a conversation, just a little bit of, a conversation like I've had previously on the, We Need to Talk video sort of thing. Or like, I think it was We Need to Talk. Regardless, it was a good old rant video, just talking about the IP address situation and all that. And we need another one of them today. So essentially, Twitter has blown up, sort of, in the Avengers community due to an interview last night. Was it last night? It's Saturday, so yes, it was. And essentially, Andy Wong, community manager, Layla, both of them were interviewing Chris Judge and Evan Narcisse for War for Wakanda. And basically, everyone's coming out the woodwork saying, Andy was cringe, Andy was this, Andy was that. Layla looks miserable normally and stuff like that. And I just wanted to make a point that these guys are community managers. They're not trained to be presenters, they're not trained to be top tier interviewees, they're trained to, bring feedback from the community to higher ups. And I understand that people may be a little bit upset that they're not always on hand to respond to everything on Twitter. They're not responding to every single tweet down below, like, say, the Guardians of the Galaxy Twitter account is. But the thing is that there could be reasons behind the scenes about that, and I know we're consumers, so it's not naturally it's not up to us to be like, okay, right, well, I understand this, so here we go. I understand that, but you've got to sort of think that if we're willing to reach for these deep lengths of being like, oh, Andy interviewed wrong, even though we got information and it was a good old stream, then you've got to sort of think deep for them as well and be like, oh, maybe they can't say anything because of this. Maybe they can't say anything because of this. And you've, with that in mind, it's something that, yes, it does need to be fixed, but it's not responsibility that could be put on the community team. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'm sure there's a lot of fucking permissions they need to grab before they even put a tweet out. I'm sure there's about 10 people they need to ask before they put a tweet out. And you're saying, what about Guardians of the Galaxy? I imagine it's a different situation with, like, Avengers because it's an ongoing game. All Guardians of the Galaxy needs to do is sell it now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Avengers needs to sell the game continuously. It needs to sell it at launch, it needs to sell it after launch, forever, right? Until the end, obviously. And that's kind of why I believe the situations are different. Am I defending it? No. Would I like to see them reply to everything? Yes. But a community manager role, from at least from my perspective, seems to be way more than just replying to some people on Twitter. You know what I mean? And that's kind of my problem. And I think that another problem that has spawned from this as well is that, like, I've seen a couple of tweets today about people discussing that, like, for example, Layla's looks really miserable during live streams and stuff like that. Now, in my opinion, the reason why Layla isn't, talkative is because, well, first of all, Andy and Phil do a lot of the talking anyway, because it's usually a trio. But not just that, but Layla is crystal dynamics underneath in the chat. So, to me, Andy has always said, we are listening, we are watching, we're taking everything in. Layla is a literal visual example of how they do that, for example. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe Layla could be included a little bit more naturally through Andy or Phil. Maybe a question brought to her sometimes, maybe just a little bit of banter. But that doesn't mean that Layla shouldn't be there. She plays a part in it. When Layla's not there, the chat do wonder where she's at. So you've got to sort of think to yourselves that, like, for example, when Phil's not there, it feels different, you know what I mean? Where if Andy's not there, which never happens, besides when Phil was there, it felt extremely different. People missed Andy. And it's the same thing when Layla's not there, in my opinion. Yes, she may not have as much of that impact, but to me, having Crystal Dynamics in chat, obviously, through Layla, is one of those things that's quite important visually for the community as well. Now, another point I wanted to make out as well is that, like, I mentioned in that very same video, that if people have a problem with me in this community, then I treat this like real life. So on the internet, I hate people that want to hide behind screens, keyboards, and, more. If you have a conversation you want to have, I have literally two options. Well, loads actually. I have Twitter, where you can DM me, or, have it out in public. I don't care. Discord, in my comments section, or fuck it, community voices. You know what I mean? Community voices doesn't just have to be, how you doing, mate? How's your day been? Sort of attitude. You know what I mean? I am more than comfortable being able to have debates and conversations with people in a live format, but instead doing sneaky little tweet likes, and even though you don't follow me, stalking my Twitter page to like tweets that kind of like are trying to negate what I've been saying, pisses me off. Don't do that. Be a man and message me, because I'm not into that shit and I never will be. So I think the moral of the story today is that, like, sometimes we need to think about what we got rather than the other stuff. So to me, an interview is taken in two parts. Was it insightful, and did we learn something? Yes, we did. We learned a lot about what Christopher Judge has been up to leading up to his role as Black Panther in War for Wakanda. And we learned a bit more about Evan Narcisse and Hannah McLeod, in all fairness, talking about everything that they can talk about story-wise without spoiling anything. They mentioned how Thor, was one of their favourite characters in War for Wakanda. So that gets the brain flowing. That, creates concepts. And, it was fun. It was fun. And realistically, for Andy and Layla, who aren't trained interviewers, and presenters, was the best thing they can possibly get. I'm not a presenter. I never have been. I've never been a host or anything like that. But people, compliment me on Community Voices and say, wow, you've got a really good speaking voice. I liked how you flowed the conversation. Some people are naturally okay at it, some are not. That doesn't mean that I'm better than Andy. That doesn't mean Andy's better than me. It's just the task at hand. If you can complete it and it's successful, then realistically the performance doesn't matter and you're reaching hard. But let me know what you think down below. I always love these sort of conversations that we can have. I love these days in the community because it really shows who's fucking real and who's not. And, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.